And attached to it, was rolling out you. The universe was very something. Then it went out to the other parts of the universe. South Carolina, we did jobs. Yeah, it was wonderful.
Okay, we will call to order this second regular monthly meeting of the Village of Trumansburg Board of Trustees. Do we have any changes to the agenda?
I have I wanted to talk through potentially approving a new dump truck purchase from DPW and then a potential temporary hire to probably require a brief exec session to discuss as well.
Okay, we'll do the dump truck under new business. Personnel and exec session, we will have a legal matter in executive session. Any other changes to the agenda? Do we want to discuss? It sounds like we're on hold now, if all things are right. After Caitlin's email this afternoon.
Sounds like it. I'm happy to discuss it. Happy to wait.
Didn't catch up on it.
There was another email.
Maybe it is early afternoonish, 2ish.
I think it was the same.
No, she sent out a, you know, those.
That she went.
Kate had emailed the contract date change. Let's do a brief update. How about that?
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Move that under new business as well. Okay, if there are no other changes to the agenda, then item number 3 is our first public comment period. Any member of the public in person or online would like to comment on anything, please avail yourself of the raise hand feature online or step to the microphone in person.
So. My name is Vivian Rose, I live at 104 Pennsylvania Avenue in Trumansburg. I am looking to make some opportunities for the community to honor and observe the 250th anniversary of our nation, which is coming up. You all.
Sorry, give me 1 second. All folks online.
There should be a way to do it on the audio. The
No, I do.
microphone should be,
But did you want to try leaving it on the owl or?
no, so we should use the USB codec. Microphone, but this be the owl was my thought, yes. Should be the owl. Yes, that was what I was into.
Oh, folks online.
Yeah, when they speak, it'll come out of the owl.
Apologies, Vivian, please continue.
Are we ready? So the reason that I'm here today is because I have run into difficulty in my efforts to make sure that we have a free public observance of the 250th anniversary. And I want to make you aware of that and invite you to think about what opportunities exist for the village board to assure that the public understands that this is a significant anniversary by some kind of public observance thereof. Part of the reason that I'm here is because, as you know, the last meeting that you had, I left, I have to admit, in anger and disgust, but also in a real shock, because for me, the value and the importance of the fact that we're sitting here derives from the efforts of people who pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor to have an independent democratic nation. And we have beautiful words from Lydia Sears, our village and town historian, about how we mix the old and the new and how we have a beautiful village and how we have values that are important. But at the very end of her book, A History of Trumansburg, New York, 1792-1967, she wrote, At the end of Trumansburg 174th year, this was written in 1967, progress seems assured. Hopefully it will come without losing those basic qualities which its founders gave it. And I am concerned that as a member of the general public, when I look around and I don't see any official public reading of the Declaration of Independence, I don't see any official action beyond the resolutions that I brought this board and the town board, that the value of the very basic offerings of those people's lives that made it possible for there to be this village, Jacksonville, Waterburg, and this town, and et cetera. The fact that we can live and breathe together in this room together, we don't seem to be able to figure out how to honor and respect. So regrettably, not regrettably, but wonderfully, the musical 1776, which is being supported by the town and the village, costs money. So if you don't have money or you're not someone who celebrates our common heritage at a musical, there's literally nothing for you. Today I learned that because of the hold harmless need for the cemeteries that are town maintained, that we could not hold open house, gravesite open house for those Revolutionary War soldiers that I had identified, that I had gotten permission to be in those cemeteries with, because I can't, as a private citizen, afford that kind of liability. That's been canceled. So there will be one at the Grove Cemetery on the 11th of July, but not at those other town cemeteries. 2 weeks ago, I came and asked, could we put something on our town sign, our village sign that said celebrating 200? No, we can't possibly. There are all kinds of reasons why we can't. And I understand that. What I don't understand is how this board and the town board are going to convey to the public that you understand that our basic democracy depends entirely on the people who made this anniversary possible and on the people who carried those values forward. So I'll leave that with you, because what I've done is researched and made an exhibit for the library that explains how these documents came together and what was happening for people, which will go in. I have, with Jessica's help, scheduled 2 free speech opportunities for the 2nd and the 11th of July, where I and others will be reading the Declaration of Independence from the stump, because the stump is the closest thing that we have to a Liberty tree. And when the Liberty tree was cut down on the Boston Commons, they spoke from the stump. So this is the closest thing we have here. I will be talking with the seniors in a few days about the Declaration of Independence, which I have personally, as a gift, provided a copy for each senior who will be at that annual meeting. I am not trying to build myself up, but I am passionate about the fact that we live in a democracy and we're responsible for carrying those values forward. And I understand that as elected officials, you do that every day in your service to us who hold the power of governance. I need to see it. There was a judge in 1776 who had been the judge of the Court of Common Pleas under the royal government. And he read the Declaration of Independence on the 11th of July from the court steps of the courthouse that was being borrowed by the Republic, by the rebel government, in which he said this thing, which I will just quote. So these are friends out there. I will be ending here very quickly, but this is the Declaration of Independence that Thomas Jefferson wrote, with all of the changes that were made by the committee in secret. Nobody knew this until 30 years after we had a nation. And this is the Declaration of Independence that was printed at the order of the New York Congress of the brand new, it says up here, representatives of the state of New York. Do you know that the Historical Society is closed on the 4th of July because they can't find docents? They're usually open on Saturday, but they're not open this year, because they have a hard time getting docents, so they're going to be closed on Saturday. I asked our local judge if he would be willing to read. I haven't heard from him. I understand from the town supervisor that, you know, justice system in New York may have all of its own rules. When are we going to actually understand that these folks broke every rule there was in order to have freedom? We need to figure out how to convey to each other how important that is to us and what we're willing. I mean, lives, fortunes, sacred honor, what are we willing to do to have that in common between us and to pass that on to our children? I don't know the answer to that. I know I've done what I can do as an individual, but a private citizen who cannot and does not see a way forward with their local government needs to figure out how to find their allies and how to do that. And that's not a threat. It's a observation. Now I have to leave because I'm a poll worker tomorrow and I have to be there at 5 a.m. in the morning. So please, just consider what might be possible. Maybe it's possible for the streets that were here in 1800 to have a fire truck go up Union, down McClellan, down Washington Street. Who would have thunk? To the farmer's market, which was John McClellan's nursery, his business. Maybe it's possible for us to say, you know, the 2nd of July, that was actually the day where they actually did decide we were going to leave, except New York. We weren't there, but still, let's have birthday cake. Someone's going to read the Declaration at 6 o'clock. Why don't you show up with birthday cake? See if we can't get 250 candles on 20 cakes and share cake with each other. I will tell you that I tried to put the resolution that you all passed on the Trumansburg community gathering. It was not allowed to be put up. So I don't know what's with this community. I know there are a lot of people who love the institutions that are here and who really, really support Porch Fest and grassroots, and I want to see the heart that beats together so that we can help and love each other and know that we're in it together. And now that I've passionately expressed myself, I'll leave you to think about it. This is not enthusiasm. This is, when are we going to step up and start showing love instead of criticizing absolutely everything about our country and each other? Time for birthday cake, I say. And in honor of that, I want to shout out to the Presbyterians and the Methodists. Jessica, you're going to love this, because between them, they have agreed that between the 2nd of July and the 11th of July at 6 p.m., which was the time that this was first read to the Army and first read to New Yorkers, they're going to ring their bell 25 times. And at the end of 10 days, that'll be 250 rings from our 2 first congregations in our town. That's fabulous. So thank you. And again, I'm sorry I would stay, but if I don't sleep, I won't be able to go to work.
Thank you, Vivian.
Thanks.
Do I have one?
Yes, yes.
Thank you for your shirt. All right. Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Hello, I'm Rob Montana, and I'm a village resident. I live on Lake Street. Thanks for the time here this evening. I'd first like to say that I'm grateful that my family and I live in a community that's so interested in enhancing our cultural and recreation opportunities. Speaking at public meetings is not my norm. As a former journalist, I'm used to listening and reporting on expected spending, anticipated revenues, and the impact of municipal budgets for taxpayers. So with 20 years of covering municipalities, I do understand the pressures you all face when making decisions about how to invest the taxes we pay in a way that provides the greatest benefit to all taxpayers. I am here tonight to advocate for the village's Board of Trustees to endorse the town of Ulysses' continued investment in the community through the countywide recreation partnership. This 30-year collaboration of 10 Tompkins County municipalities provides opportunities for Trumansburg residents that would not be possible or affordable if the village tried to offer them on their own. For the village's portion of the recreation partnership cost, $6,859.50 in 2027, Trumansburg's residents can continue paying half the cost of regular admission to the Cass Park Pool and Rink, for programs ranging from art to athletics, and for summer camp that for many is also their childcare. Programming offered through the Recreation Partnership dwarfs the scope of what we could accomplish on our own, including gross motor opportunities for infants and toddlers, rec sports for kids of all ages, swimming lessons that aren't available at Tacanic anymore, art, music, and theater offerings not available nearly as affordably elsewhere, parent and child classes, and necessary connections for homeschooling families, of which we have many in this community, most certainly at a fraction of what it would cost us to do so. In the last 3 years, Recreation Partnership registrations from the town of Ulysses have increased by 27.9%. Participation from unique individuals from the 1488 zip code has increased by 17.5%. So village residents are absolutely taking advantage of the opportunities provided through the Recreation Partnership, and increasingly so. An increased contribution by the village of just $542.50 for 2027 seems a small price to pay for the access created through the Recreation Partnership. The village has shown its values collaboration with regard to natural space and recreation areas, forming the Three Falls LDC with the towns of Ulysses and Covert, thank you, to ensure that the former Camp Barton would add to the public space offerings for residents. So I ask this board to continue its proactive and collaborative ways of thinking by advocating for the continued investment in the Recreation Partnership. As a small town that already does so much, let's not look to reinvent the wheel. Let's look for ways we can better promote this 30-year recreation partnership so even more residents can benefit from those affordable and accessible opportunities. I encourage you to continue this legacy of collaboration and strengthen this partnership for generations of Trumansburg residents to come. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other public comment? If you're online and would like to comment, please use the raise hand feature, or I can see you. Any other public comment in person? We have another public comment period at the end of the meeting if you make it that far. Okay, not seeing any hands online and going once, going twice. And I knew you wouldn't be able to resist. That's why I gave you the extra.
Thanks. I'm Nancy Zahler. I live at 3480 Agard Road in the town, and I actually can't be any more articulate than Rob Montana just was about the importance of supporting the Recreation Partnership. I am in league with him and the people who care about collaborative ways to meet the needs of kids who want to play with their schoolmates. And that, I think, is particularly important in the town of Ulysses that has a portion of students who live in the southern part of the town and attend the Ithaca schools. And so for me, that's an equity question. And I think the partnership that the village has shown, the strong support that you have shown for recreation and youth programs is commendable and hopefully to be perpetuated. So that's all. Thank you. But what he said.
Thank you.
Kate, yeah, go ahead. Can you, I need to ask you to.
Yes, hi, thank you. Kate Frazier, Village resident. I will also echo what Rob and what Montana, now Nancy Zahler, just shared. I think this is a no-brainer. An increase of just $500-ish a year is an incredibly small price to pay, given rising costs across the board, for the Youth Bureau's excellent programming, which my family actively engages in right now. Daughter and I are taking tennis, and yeah, it's just a tremendous resource. I don't think we can find that value elsewhere currently, and yeah, agree with what's been said. And I would ask the board to please continue advocating for the partnership. I think it's the spirit of partnership that we want to see more of. And thanks for the time.
Thanks, Kate. Other public comment? Okay, hearing none, and we will move on to item number 4 on our agenda, which is old business. We have parts 2 and 3 of our full environmental assessment form to complete for our, this is for the renovation project for the fire hall. New EMS facility. That portion will come next month. And so see where the okay, so part 2, hopefully, has everyone had a chance to review it?
Yeah. Yes.
Hoping that answer is yes. I don't want to go through every line. What is 18 times 8? I don't want to go through that many lines. But I'll summarize each section. Section 1, part 2 of the full EAF is impact on land. None of the, so there's, for those who are not familiar with seeker review, there's either the option of no or small impact may occur versus moderate to large impact may occur. And so that's what we're reviewing. When it comes to impact on land, there are 7 different categories, none of which show a moderate to large impact as occurring. Section number 2 is are there any impacts on geological features? The answer is no. Section number 3, are there any impacts on surface water? The answer is no. Section 4, is there any impact on groundwater? The answer is no. Section 5, is there any impact on flooding? The answer is no. Section 6, are there any impacts on air? The answer is no. Section 7, similar to section 1, which was impact on land. Section 7 is impact on plants and animals. The answer is yes, there may be some, but all of them are no, 0 to small impacts. Section 8 is impact on agricultural resources. That answer is no. Section 9, is there any impact on aesthetic resources? The answer is no. Section 10, is there any impact on historic and archaeological resources? That is checked yes, but all of the impacts are 0 to small. Section 11, is there any impact on open space and recreation? The answer is no. Section 12, is there any impact on critical environmental areas? The answer is no. Section 13, is there any impact on transportation? The answer is no. Section 14, is there any impact on energy? The answer is no. Section 15, is there any impact on noise, odor, or light? The answer is yes. There is one potentially moderate to large impact, which is that the proposed action may produce sound above noise levels established by local regulation. The other questions have 0 or small impact. Section 16, is there any impact on human health? The answer is no. Section 17, is there any impact, or rather, is the project consistent with community plans, or is there any inconsistency rather with community plans? The answer is no. Section 18, is there any inconsistency with community character? The answer is no. any of those sections that we would like to go over in greater detail or individual line?
And the obvious one to talk about just briefly is the noise. Is there, I didn't see anywhere any consideration for how we're thinking about that, ways to mitigate that, anything around that, just anytime we see something in the moderate to large, seems it's worth a brief discussion.
So the noise that they are referring to would be construction.
Oh, only
So
construction.
the construction, the actual project itself, not the future use of the facility.
Okay.
So the project itself could potentially have some significant noise at some period of time during the renovation.
Okay. That's good to call out. That wasn't clear from just the reading that I took.
Any other sections we would like to go over in greater depth? Okay, if not, then I will read part 3 of the EAF as it has the detail for us to approve. The Village of Trumansburg Village Board of Trustees, hereinafter referred to as Village Board, has reviewed and accepted Part 1 of the full environmental assessment form for this action. The Village Board completed a coordinated review under the State Environmental Quality Review regulations and received no objections to being designated lead agency. The Village Board, in a separate resolution, designated the Village Board as lead agency and as lead agency for this action under the provisions of Part 617 of the secret regulations, has evaluated the impacts likely to result from the proposed action. Based upon this evaluation and the Village Board's review of the full EAF Part 2 and Part 3, the Village Board, in a separate resolution, which we will adopt tonight, Monday, June 22nd, 2026, has determined the proposed action will not likely result in a significant adverse impact upon the environment, and that a negative declaration is issued. And so Part 3, I would entertain a motion to approve as I'm about to read, that upon review of the information recorded on this EAF as noted, plus this additional support information, which is the full EAF Part 3 and the supporting documentation to the EAF and project maps, and considering both the magnitude and importance of each identified potential impact, it is the conclusion of the Village of Trumansburg Village Board of Trustees as lead agency that this project will result in no significant adverse impacts on the environment, and therefore an environmental impact statement need not be prepared. Accordingly, this negative declaration is issued. Would someone like to move that?
I'd make that motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Comments or questions? Hearing none, then all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, well, thank everybody for that. One step closer to somewhere. Next item of old business is, I believe we want to introduce, this is introductions, you know, the draft local law. Or...
Yeah, so actually, real brief on the fire and EMS people get there. It wasn't really about the secret itself, but I've been hearing and been thinking about different design elements, landscaping, lighting, those sorts of things. When's a good time, or what's the right outlet for bringing those sorts of conversations into design conversations about the different buildings?
So we have it's not been scheduled, but sometime in the next couple of weeks, we're supposed to have a kickoff meeting for the project itself. Probably in person, although maybe not. And that'll be with us, anyone from the board that wants to be there, MRB and the fire company leadership. And they've already got design elements inside the building, but anything exterior.
Yeah, I think it's more exterior than I'm thinking that people are wanting. maybe more even EMS than fire, but probably for both, just how we do that responsibly and tastefully.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll be part of that conversation. We're about 30-ish days behind on the EMS side, just because of the secret piece.
Right.
But both kickoff meetings, I just emailed Matt today. Both kickoff meetings should be the next 22nd already, first half of July.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd love to know when those are, and if I can make it great. If not, I can put email, comments to Matt.
Yeah.
CC everybody or whatnot.
Yeah, it's not a problem.
And point of housekeeping, there was a separate resolution to declare lead agency, which you touched upon, that didn't actually. Resolution
Where was that?
for a ROI.
That's where I was a little confused, because it sounded like that resolution just said we already were lead agency, already declared that, but I do see that the second one is in.
Look for that. Where is that?
It's the one I
For
passed.
conversation improvement. Significance resolution. Or lead agency that.
Seeing anything in tonight's.
Are you in SharePoint?
Read.
So,
No, I'm in Dropbox because we're still using Dropbox.
oh, because we only declared intent, not action.
That was okay. So
Designating.
in no particular order then. Whereas the Village of Trumansburg Village Board of Trustees on June 8th, 2026 declared its intent to be designated the lead agency for the Village of Trumansburg Fire Station Improvement Project under the provisions of the State Environmental Quality Review Regulations, and whereas the village board has provided written notices to this effect to the involved and interested agencies, and whereas the village board has not received any written objections from the involved agencies to the boards being designated as the lead agency under the secret regulations, and whereas the village board has previously determined that it is the most appropriate agency to ensure the coordination of this action and for making the determination of significance thereon under the secret regulations, now therefore be it resolved that the village board does hereby designate itself as the lead agency for the action identified above herein. Would someone like to move that?
So moved.
Second.
Comments or questions? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The opposed? The abstentions? This was Congress, we would probably want to re-ratify the EAF Part 3. But since we did it on the same night, I'm not going to worry about it. Back to old business. Draft local law number D2 and D3.
Yeah, Joanna, were you about to say something about that?
I was not.
Okay. Yeah, so
I was
this,
gonna say, let's do this.
so this is, right, this is introducing amendments to our speed limit law and our motor vehicle and traffic law, reflecting our conversation beginning of the month to allow for no parking on Wig Street in front of the middle school and for additional school speed limits on Truman, Wig, and parts of South. And then with these introduced, I'd also like to look at scheduling the public hearing for them. I'm assuming at our August meeting with timing, I would imagine. And that way we can have a hearing, and unless we have a change of course, we can adopt then, which would be in time for school year.
So that would be August 10th. Is everyone going to be here?
That's a good question. Double check myself.
I'm planning to be here.
Haven't think.
I should be around.
Yeah, I'll be here. That's when we have a regular meeting.
That's
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So if there's no concerns there, I would just assert that these are introduced and that we can schedule that as part of our regular meeting.
Yeah.
And I think that's it, unless there's any questions, further things to talk about on that front.
You want to combine those public hearings or keep them separately?
I'd like to combine them if that's possible, not that it makes a ton of difference, it just means fewer resolutions opening and closing and explaining to people which things we're talking about at different points when they're somewhat intertwined.
Okay. Okay. All right, any other items of old business? If not, item number 5 on our agenda is new business. Looks like we have a street address assignment.
Yes. Street address assignment, so the owners of 60 East Seneca Road are, sorry, the owners of property. Tax parcel 3.1-1.13 would like to use the designation of 60 East Seneca Road. For that parcel is apportioned.
Here.
62 is, so they, like 62 faces the road, the driveway for 60 is next to it and comes behind, so logically, and there's plenty of space to,
It's the Petrovics.
sorry,
The Petrovics.
old Petrovic property now, and
But you're,
I did draw a map there, but I checked with the code officer, as we always do, so there's plenty of space if war property on either side of that, something else. Right, it's this. It's this. So that it's sort of 60 there. Discuss.
okay. By the way, conversation continues of the county about whether the county should do address designations. If anyone has opinions on that, let me know.
I support that.
As it stands, municipalities get to pick street names and addresses, and Department of Emergency Response gets to figure out which side of the lake it's on. The property, so this is the resolution for consideration. Whereas the Tompkins County Department of Emergency Response oversees emergency dispatch communication systems that allow residents to dial 911, and whereas 911 is the number to report a police, fire, or medical emergency that requires the immediate presence of police officers, firefighters, or emergency medical personnel. And whereas new address designations are approved by a municipality's governing body, now therefore be it resolved that the Village of Trumansburg Board of Trustees authorizes and approves the designated addresses or address of 60 East Seneca Road for tax parcel number 3.1-1.13. Someone like to move that?
So moved.
Second.
Comments, questions, desires to have the county do this?
Yes, please.
There are no other comments or questions. Then all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. DPW dump truck.
Yes, so the truck that the DPW has budgeted for this year to replace is another one of the dump trucks. So we just finished purchasing a new large dump truck, extra large dump truck, what do you want to call it, through the CHIPS funds. This is just a standard 350 1-ton sort of dump truck. They have gotten a number of quotes in the SharePoint. They are somewhere between 80 and 90,000. They all are for a body with a plow and a salter. And so the DPW would like us to accept the quote from Mangino Chevrolet for $81,984.93. And for that money to come out of the equipment reserve, subject to progressive referendum. So I would move that we accept this quote in that amount and to take up to, let's call it $82,000 from the equipment reserve. And that money will be there after taxes come in by the end of the month, in time for the 30 days to elapse, and then to be able to purchase that. And they've got, I think, close to 90, so there'll be a little bit of extra space there.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second on that?
Yes, so moved.
Marcia seconds. Comments or questions?
Oh, I seconded it. Who moved it? You did?
I did.
Who's moved? it?
While I was chatting.
Oh, you were checking.
Comments, questions?
It sounds fairly straightforward, right? This is
Yeah.
just moving forward as planned.
Do we
Just
know,
moving forward.
do we know what we'll get for the old?
We don't, that'll be, I think in July, we might call it no further use, and then they can see what they can get for it. They just want to make sure that they get this one in time for snow before like snow becomes a potential. Once we get this locked in, they feel comfortable with that, then we can get rid of the other.
Soon.
But
For
it's
our
more,
years
the
without
delivery
for-
date for this could be a number of months out, for the pressing issue.
Next time, just say when the weather changes. Don't say snow. Okay, please.
Here we are, second day of the summer.
Okay, if there are no other comments or questions, all in favor of approving the purchase of the new dump truck subject to this referendum, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstentions? Okay, we will have a DPW personnel issue to discuss in executive session. And then we've heard some folks comment on the rec program. I'm happy to have a hopefully relatively brief conversation on it. I'll just tee it up by saying that the town of Ulysses is the partner in the rec program. The village of Trumansburg contributes what is on paper a small dollar amount to that partnership. The conversation, which was going to be had but is effectively tabled for now, was due to some confusing language in the contract, which suggested we only had until the end of June. If there was ever a desire to withdraw from the partnership, that decision needed to be made by June of 26 in order to withdraw by January 1 of 28. That has been clarified as of this afternoon by council, including council for the county, that no, the deadline to withdraw for 2028 would actually be December 31st of this year, not June 30th. So that's why we're not discussing it today. It is effectively not up to the village, although we certainly can endorse remaining in the program. Or we could say we don't want to be in the program, we're not paying our half. I mean, that's basically our two options. The town is the contractee. I'm certainly in favor of all things rec, all things youth programming. I do have a question, and this is not my bailiwick. This is more yours. This is not one of the village budget line items of 5,000 and change that I tend to pay a lot of attention to. Maybe that's a shortcoming on my part. I usually need to see an extra 0 or 2 for it to get my attention when it comes to the budgeting process. I was a little taken aback last week when I became aware of some difficulty in getting real numbers. The 14886 is a very large zip code that encompasses 3 counties. So I love our friends at the city of Ithaca. I have a good relationship with most of the common council members, including Mayor Cantelmo. I am, however, concerned at village tax dollars. And this, for me personally, starts to bleed into other issues. Several $100,000 of village taxpayer dollars being spent on residents of the city of Ithaca when it comes to emergency services makes me want to start looking at, well, where else are we spending the money? Where else are we spending village taxpayer dollar on city of Ithaca services? If village residents are getting their money's worth, then I'm all for it. So that's my only kind of half an eye on this topic is making sure that the village taxpayer dollar is being well spent for the benefit of village residents. If that bears out, wonderful. A little bit concerned that it's perhaps difficult to find that out.
But we now don't have to worry so much about figuring it out in the next 8 days. And as I said, this is certainly happy to let the town of Ulysses take the lead on figuring this out because it's not our, to me, it's not our big issues from a village services standpoint. So that's kind of where we're at. If there's any others thoughts?
Right, because we just contribute, but they're the one that contractually.
I'm gonna jump in, because there's a bunch of back that is important. Sorry.
Oh, that's
But
okay.
The groundwork here is important. So the reason you don't see this in our budget is because it isn't in our budget. What you see is like a 36,000 and change contribution. Structurally, right, the town, village, and school all participate in youth commission. That youth commission oversees the contract with the rec partnership, camps, various positive development, youth programming in general, right? So it's a wide umbrella. But every year the commission makes a recommendation to the town regarding how we execute those programs. One of those recommendations is the rec partnership and our participation in it. I will say, as far as just the dollar for dollar, that analysis is fairly straightforward. We put in as a community, so under the umbrella of Ulysses, a total of about 13,000. We get substantially more than that back in terms of reduced fees. Right, so we have about 350 registrations, and the two experts are like right here. So you can correct me if I'm wrong in any of this, but essentially about 350 registrations, totaling at least 16,000 or so dollars in terms of direct reduced costs, which isn't to mention some of the stuff that Rob mentioned, right? The sort of access to a greater variety of programs, all of these things.
How many of those registrations are village residents?
It's all because it's Ulysses, right? So it's all a big umbrella.
That's the question though, that is a poignant question that should be answered.
And
Sure. So to answer this question, I want to point out that we have been a member of the rec partnership for decades. We have a member on that board, so we participate directly in decision making. The need for this data was brought to their attention a week or so ago with like 3 or 4 days to turn it around. So I want to push back hard on the idea that this feels deceptive or inadequate in any way. I think 30 years have gone by and we decided to ask at the 11th hour. So I think that reads to me. I don't like the way that reads. I think we should be gentle and we should accept our responsibility. We have opted into this program. I think it does tremendous amount of good for our community.
I do want to interrupt. That's fair. And I agree about the 11th hour piece. Equally, and this is what got my attention, it's equally concerning and potentially problematic from a communication standpoint that the Ithaca Youth Bureau leadership chose to publicize what to me was a campaign style promotional letter to participants.
Sure. I actually
stating that please advocate that the town not reconsider its position. That got my attention.
Sure, and that's fine, but completely separate issue from the data issue. I want to be very clear about that. The other piece that I think is important for us, right, as you said, our choices here are essentially do we participate in the youth commission or do we not? Right now, as it stands, the youth commission addressed this issue last November when we looked at our budget. We recommended participation, knowing about this 18-month separation clause, right? And made that recommendation all the same. Every year we have made that recommendation for the 13 years that I've been on the commission and been on this board. I think it's a fairly straightforward case, right? I mean, the money adds up. It does a genuine and obvious service to our residents. I think it's fairly straightforward. But I realize that I owe everyone kind of an apology, right? Because you should all already know this, and that you don't is really on me, right? So I think moving forward, I'm trying to do a better job to communicate and report on, the rec side of things and youth commission more generally a little bit more thoroughly. I will admit that this took me by surprise, right? I didn't know this was happening. I assumed that recommendation through the youth commission was moving forward. I think there's a little bit of the town's, their budget process is a little bit strange and it lends itself to this kind of confusion. So just to, not to get into the weeds too much, but the youth commission makes a recommendation on a sort of suite of budget options. And then those budget options do not appear in the town budget as one line the way they do in ours. They get separated out. They're not necessarily coherent or next to each other. So I think the one thing we may want to consider moving forward is kind of tightening up our MOU and clarifying the role of that youth commission in decision making moving forward. Because that really is our voice, right? Functionally, when you really boil it down, we pay $36,000 so that we have a voice in those decisions that are primarily implemented by the team. So I think thinking that through more carefully what we're doing. But I will stop blathering on and on.
And I think I saw somewhere, yeah, I do have a question. I think I saw somewhere that even though we do contribute, we do not get the benefit of discounts with CAS pool and.
Thought it
Okay.
was roller skating.
Oh, I thought it
and
was
ice
the pool.
skating And pools.
Some of the things that they provide are provided by Ithaca and Cass Park, which is a separate section under the rec partnership. So not every single program that you can go to in the area of Ithaca
Is covered under
covered.
that umbrella.
So you have to,
Okay,
you just have to know.
that was just my question.
Yeah, which programs, and I think the spreadsheet that Ben put out in the email thread was maybe the most helpful there, is it has a list of all the programs.
Yeah, I saw that.
What the full price is, what the discounted price is, how many Town of Ulysses members have been to each, what that total savings is, that kind of thing.
Yes, yeah, but there's a lot of programs, you know, just aren't part of. Those
Yeah.
Ones that are directly under the umbrella. I mean, in the same way that like locally, we have right, T-ball is part of the rec department.
Gotcha.
Similar kind of deal.
I understand.
But if there's any other questions, I'm also, like I said, I think this is something that I have to sort of reckon with myself, right? You should all have already known everything that I just said. So I'll work on putting together a little bit more info, and Kate hopefully will help, as I know that Kate helped. And so that's for me to grapple with. But I think I did want to share a little bit of an update. I think after it became clear that there was interest right at the outset.
Comments or thoughts?
I think my only thought on all this is I do, looking at the structure of everything, my inclination is to see the youth commission think this through, collect all the data it wants, have a conversation. We now have 6 months to have that conversation and then have a recommendation. I guess to come out of that. And I like, that's where I'm hoping that this work happens, and then we get to consume the result of that deliberation and data collection. And then we can, I guess, make our own opinion and have an opinion to share with the town board, should that be necessary. Because that's how I understand
That
this.
will absolutely happen. I mean, that would be the natural flow of everything, given the budgeting cycles that I was just talking about. Right. I mean, that would, and that happens every year. And this will just be another, you know, maybe more of a fine tooth comb this year than usually. I mean, generally, to be honest with you, it's a pretty brief analysis that we do because the math is so straightforward. But yeah, I think this year, given that the increased attention, we'll be looking closer at this line item for sure.
That'll help everybody understand it better too, as well, so. That helps.
Okay, to be continued. Any other items of new business? It takes us to our second public comment period. Anyone from the public would like to comment? If you're online, please use the raise hand button wherever it's hiding these days in Zoom. I think it's under React. Okay, last chance. All right. I would entertain a motion to go into executive session to discuss a personnel matter as well as a potential pending legal matter.
So moved.
That can.
All in favor?
Aye.